Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Skiera, aka Stations Guy, and my guests on today's show, I say guests because I'm featuring multiple compact discs that have vintage Christmas music, mostly vintage Christmas music. We're going to do something different. My next to last CD will be a little different, and then my final CD is actually going to be kind of strange. Um, but before I dive into these CDs, let me just mention that I'm not going to be playing music from the discs. And if you look at my other videos that deal with music, where I talk about albums, CDs, 8 tracks, I talk about why I don't play the music. So I'm not going to repeat all that again here. I'll probably put a little note in the description of the video. But if you want to go back and get the full explanation, you can get it from those videos. Some of the CDs are still sealed, so that's another reason why you won't hear them. But you can, rather than me play a 10-second clip on a cheap Bluetooth speaker, you can write down the names of these CDs if they interest you, go back on YouTube, and you can listen to the whole album in much better quality. So keep that in mind. Um, but let's get into this now because I've got like 6 or 7 discs to cover. So let's dive into it. And I'm going to start with, and many of you may be too young to remember this. I'm not, unfortunately. But back in the day when you had department stores, big chain department stores, a lot of them would play their own Christmas music over the loudspeakers. Some of it was, you know, recognized names, and others was more sort of generic, or maybe their house orchestra, what have you. But one of these companies was SS Kresge. The SS stood for Sebastian Spering, who was the guy who started the company around 1912. They had about 85 stores, and it was, I think, the second largest discount chain in the U.S. It was like a five and dime. Most of the stuff they sold was under $1. They renamed themselves Kmart in 1977. So this was the precursor to Kmart. And I'm sure a lot of you remember Kmart. Kmart had also their own Christmas music as well. But this, we're talking about the SS Kresge for this segment. The music was mono. Was recorded between the 1950s and 1970s, and it was artists like Liberace, Lawrence Welk, Al Hurt, the Jackie Gleason Orchestra. A lot of the music was uncredited, so we're not quite sure where it came from. Maybe it was like a house orchestra or something. Um, and the albums would arrive to the store in like a plain brown jacket with just a stamp on it that said SS Kresge, and it would say for in-store use only. And it was, easy listening, beautiful music, Muzak kind of stuff to get you in the holiday spirit and lull you into buying things for the holiday. So these are a couple of the discs I have, which I purchased on eBay, the CDRs, which a guy on eBay recorded the music off of the actual records, put them on CD so you can hear all the glorious pops and cracks and skips and so on. So you can buy them on CD. You can hear the music, as I said, on YouTube. You can buy the original albums off of eBay and other used record sites, though they may not be in the greatest condition. And there are also downloads where they've cleaned them up. They've run them through filters and what have you, and so they sound better than if you just took them right off the record. But I wanted something authentic. I wanted to kind of listen to it as if I was listening to the record, perhaps even in the store or something. So that's why I got these. But so you have options if this is the kind of thing you like. And there's others, like I said, there's Kmart, there's other department stores where you can buy this kind of music. So it's interesting. It kind of reminds me of when I was a kid. If you aren't that old, then maybe you just want to check it out just so you can experience what that was like. So that's the SS Kresge music. The next disc I'm going to mention is called Season's Greetings, The Fantastic Strings of Felix Slotkin. And Slotkin was the father of conductor Leonard Slotkin. And this CD came out in 2020 on Real Gone Music, which is a great label, by the way. They do all kind of quirky stuff, stuff that probably no other record label would be interested in putting out. The original album came out in 1961 in stereo. Slotkin put out over 25 records. He won a Grammy for one of them. He was nominated for a Grammy on another one. And he coined this phrase, the fantastic strings. He also had the fantastic fiddles, the fantastic brass, and fantastic percussion. But it's interesting, fantastic strings as opposed to what? The absolutely terrible strings? I mean, what else would you call it? You would call it the fantastic strings, right? This has 12 tracks, classics, White Christmas, Silent Night, Away in a Manger, Joy to the World, Deck the Halls. So that's Season's Greetings by Felix Slotkin. This is a very classic album, Mantovani, Christmas Carols. And this is on Collector's Choice Music, which I just mentioned, Real Gone Music. The guy who started Real Gone Music started Collector's Choice Music and then moved on and left there and started Real Gone. So this very possibly could have come out when he was still there. It came out in, let's see, what does this say? 2009, it looks like. It's 14 tracks, most of which are holiday classics: O Tannenbaum, Silent Night, O Holy Night, The First Noel, Hark the Herald Angels Sing. But there is one track called Midnight Waltz, which is a Mantovani original. This is the inside, by the way. And it came out originally in 1953 in mono, and then Mantovani went into the studio, re-recorded the whole entire album in stereo in 1958, which, 1958 stereo was still kind of in its infancy. So this is the stereo version. And once again, classic, easy listening, Muzak kind of stuff for your consideration if you want to dive into that kind of thing. The next is The Soulful Strings, and this is still sealed in the original shrink wrap. And this album is called The Magic of Christmas. They did a number of albums, The Soulful Strings, mostly covering pop tunes. But this is their Christmas album, Little Drummer Boy, Snowfall, Jingle Bells, The Christmas Song, Deck the Halls, 10 tracks. And one thing that, there are a lot of easy listening type Christmas music albums out there, some of which I just described. The different thing about this one is, as the name of the band might indicate, The Soulful Strings, they have a kind of jazzy, soul, funky take on their music. So that's what makes this different and a little more upbeat. Some of these albums actually sound a little bit somber, but not this. It's pretty cool. It actually has a 4.5 rating on Amazon out of 5.0, which is pretty good. Came out in 2015, again on the Real Gone Music label. And the Soulful Strings, they were a studio band out of Chicago. It was a house band for Cadet Records, which is what this was released on originally. But this album version originally came out in 1968. This is out of print. It's hard to get. You will find them, but they're not cheap. They go for about $36 to $40 and higher on the used album market. So they're out there if you want it. This actually charted when it came out in '68, made number 35 on the Billboard Christmas charts. So cool if you're not into the easy music type thing. This is a little more upbeat, so you might want to check that out if you want something that's a little more on the positive side. Here's something that's a little bit different. It's not really an official release. Sears Golden Strings. So Sears and some other department stores would put out Christmas albums branded with their own name, just, I guess, to kind of reinforce the brand. And you could only typically buy these in the store, so you could get this in Sears. You might be able to find the actual vinyl album of this, but it never made it to CD. I bought this from a company that puts out Christmas vinyl albums on CD. They burn them onto CD. And I'm not going to mention the name because I didn't have a very good buying experience, so I don't want to give them free advertising. But you can look them up very easily, and you might even catch it when I open it up and show you this. But this is, it's a CDR that they recorded the original album on, cleaned it up a bit, not too much. 14 tracks. Jingle Bells, White Christmas, O Little Town of Bethlehem, Came Upon a Midnight Clear, March of the Toys, that kind of stuff. And it's a mostly instrumental compilation album. And came out originally in 1966. And I remember being a kid being in Sears. There was one that was maybe 10 minutes from the apartment we lived in. It was 2 or 3 floors. Huge Sears store. It's long gone now. And it was right next to, what was it, an Anderson Little clothing store, which was a men's suit and clothing store, which I think they're gone too. But anyway, so Sears on the list for us. Nextly, this is the one that I said is going to be a little bit different. Lisa Michaels. Cute gal. And she put out this, she did a number of Christmassy things. She put this one out in, originally it was very limited release in 1991. And then she did a larger release on CD in 2002. It's 12 tracks. And there's no traditional Christmas songs or carols or hymns on here. She doesn't do any cover versions. These are all her original songs, but they are winter and Christmas related. So things like Last Winter's Dream, Christmas Come Too Soon, Blizzard of Ooze, Closer to Jerusalem, Xmas Time, TYME. And then there's a bonus track, a number 13 bonus track that isn't listed, but it just says, plus a special track. And it's basically a karaoke instrumental version of one of her songs. So you can do a sing-along if you want. Here's the inside. And she did other Christmas stuff. In 2017, she released an EP of 5 tracks, which do have a couple of standard Christmas tunes, and there were some Christmas-related singles she put out. But she has other music as well. She's been in more bands than Imelda Marcos had shoes, I think. A lot of people have commented on this, that they break it out during the Christmas season, even though there aren't really traditional Christmas songs on here. It's on Rev Ola Records. It's long out of print. You can find them on eBay and other used places. They go for about $30 and up. But the reason I'm mentioning this, even though it's, from about 23 years ago, is some of the songs on here she does in a kind of, how would I describe it? A sort of Phil Spector-ish, early 60s girl group kind of sound. It's very retro, and it's really cool. Not all the music is like that, but I would say probably at least half is. And so you probably don't own a Christmas album like this. It's really different. It's really cool, fresh sounding, upbeat. And so it's something you may want to check out because it's different. To listen to different kind of a Christmas album that, like I say, you probably haven't heard before, and I think it's worth checking out. The last CD I'm going to mention to you, I told you I would end with kind of a weird one, and this is no insult intended. This is still sealed. Also, it's Tyler Larson covering the Nutcracker Ballet by Tchaikovsky, but he does it quite differently. You see what this says here? It's the arcade version. So he mixes in arcade sounds. He uses vintage synthesizers. It's like a chiptune classical album, if you can imagine that. It came out in 2020. It has 24 tracks, so Act 1 and Act 2. Tyler is from Windsor Heights, Iowa, and he actually included a nice little handwritten thank you note when I bought the CD, and there's a sticker here also. All these CDs, by the way, I purchased. I didn't get anything for free to, make this video. So it's all stuff that I've bought and collected. And I have more. I have more of these kind of vintage music CDs, but I wanted to kind of keep it to a minimum. So I hope you enjoyed this. By the way, I don't know if you can see over my shoulder here. That's actually um, Lisa's CD on my CD player that I've been listening to just before I started this video. But happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year. Hope everybody has a safe holiday and you're able to be with family and or friends. Um, Subscribe if you would, please. Share this if you know somebody who's into vintage Christmas music or just might find this interesting. Give me a thumbs up, give me some love in the comments, and we will see you next time right here on YouTube.